Oh, all right. Let's start over. How about that one? Oh, there are so many things that anyway, first of all, it's Friday. It is Friday. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, wherever you might be. I'm glad that we're all here together right now. We have the New York session coming up right now. We're going to be taking a look at what is going on. We have here the S&Ps trading down about 3% here on the opening, 3.25% here on the opening. I do have this alert here. If we trade back above 25.62 area, I just want to be aware. I did top tick this last night at 26.38. I went ahead and I had taken a short there. You can see this was on the 1-minute chart. As soon as we broke down this trend line, that's where I entered. On the S&Ps, I'm holding that. I knew I didn't want to trade it again, but you know what? We saw last night that everyone was calling that this was the shortest bear market in history. Price had traded up 20% in 2 days. Now, I'm under the impression that first of all, the only time we see that type of violent price movement is in bear markets, right? So I couldn't resist the urge. I know that they're voting on the House bill today. Hey, Jesse, thanks for sending over the information on that. Let me see if I could pull up really quick. This was Salvini calling for from Italy to beat the virus, and if needed, leave the EU. I love calls like that because in the end, that's the end game I'm looking for the EU to be broken up. Now, I was doing a search this morning for the stimulus bill. And the past few days, when you search stimulus, you get stimulus bill, stimulus, whatever. Today, I see stimulus check. All right. I went over to I always like to check with the enemy. So I went to Google News and I was looking for any information about what's going on with the bill this morning. Jesse, thanks for sending over that information. And I saw headlines that says, well, how much do you expect in your stimulus check? So I always like to read between the propaganda. And what I saw was going on is that they're kind of changing the narrative, getting people to look forward to the stimulus check instead of figuring out what's going on in that bill. Now, on Twitter, everyone is talking about, wait, it's not a check. First of all, it's a one-time tax credit towards your following year tax refund. So basically, no, everyone, all the people are kind of aware at this point that there's not even a check being mailed out, that it's just a tax credit. And then you see, the propaganda trying to get the other people to just have that fact that they're getting a check in their mind so that they go ahead and pass this bill, pull one over on the people again, bail out the corporations, put the people in debt. So here we are. Matter, right? This was not an easy week. This was not a tough week. Good morning, everyone. Checking in the chat. I wish I had a hot link on that to forward that to other people. All right, let's get into the charts. So we're about 6 minutes into the open over here, and I see prices are off their lows and rising pretty hot and fast. DXY is off the lows of the session, which got beat up pretty hard. But look at the magic lines we use again. Let's zoom out over here. Look at the magic lines. This yellow trend line that I had over here and this green line at 98.85, this line of support. This is exactly where price came into. This is the exact line that we said on Wednesday that we were looking for price to come down to. Hit it, and so far is rebounding. You can see that we have this area of resistance. It is light local resistance, but nevertheless, we're coming up to it. It's very important to see how price reacts. If it does break through, if it bursts through, then there's a good chance we're coming back up to 101.12, and we'll take a look what happens as we get around there. Let me draw that line in because later in this session, there's a possibility that line could become pretty relevant. So I'll keep that there for us. All right. Let's take a look at the Euro US dollar. Now it is Friday. Markets are moving. I'm going to do a really quick check with you just now of the percentage points. And you can see that everything is up, I would say from a half to 1%. So that is about, I would say, twice the volatility that we would see maybe 3 months ago. So there is movement. It's a good day for trading. You have about 2 or 3 hours ahead of you to put on some good trades. Anyone who is really looking to take some pips on some small day trades. I'm obviously already positioned, but I want to get a feel for what's going on here. We see the euro US dollar coming in to the heavy resistance area. Poorly trade on my part this week. I'm going to just say it again, only because I hedged my shorts all the way down here. I had two targets, this area over here, where you see this blue line into that resistance, and then this heavy line up here. That's where I wanted to take about a quarter of my hedge off, and then the rest. I got faked out pretty quickly, about 12 hours into the trade. I thought we were coming back down. I thought we were going to test the lows. I took off my hedges. And instead of making this a bazooka awesome week, I didn't. So again, the most important thing, hey, Gabe, beautiful email you sent me. I loved it. That was the email of the week. And I do appreciate that. I'm going to respond with words. But so I forgot why I was saying that. Something in my mind clicked why I wanted to bring that up to you. Where are we right now, though, on the euro US dollar? I'm watching this yellow line here, this trend line, which should be something like more like that, and this green line over here. I do expect the possibility exists even in this session that we trade down into it, but I don't see us going further during this session, and I don't know whether or not this is the line that holds. If we get below this line, it becomes more of a bearish momentum trade, and you could get a little bit more comfortable in it. But right now, the bulls still have the near term momentum here. They've gotten the bears have come in this morning, and they're making their stand at an important line, but they've just kind of rallied a little bit, right? The bulls are still in control, and you have to get below this area to feel comfortable in the trade in the short, which is just not yet. It is Friday. It is Friday. For some reason, I feel like I have a busy weekend on my hands after my wife has been holding down homeschooling the kids all week, and it's time for me to step in there and help out. US dollar, Japanese yen. I need to look on a higher time frame to get just a little bit clearer review. This has been under extreme pressure. It took out my 109.71 line handedly. First of all, the lower high. I noticed the lower high over here. We're below the 109.71 line, and we're below the yellow line of the breakout to the upside. So this does have a bearish bias towards it. However, two things. The first thing is that this line of support so far is holding. Get below that, yes, it looks very bearish. All right. Right now, listen, people are, this is from Brent Johnson, a tweet that he put out yesterday. And as the dollar was getting itself handed yesterday, but step back. I mean, the dollar traded down from 94.50 to 104 in days. All right. So it pulled back like a third of the way, and now is resuming upwards. And everyone is calling the death of the dollar, and all of a sudden everyone is on his case. And basically he's like, listen, every time gold pulls back, it's okay that everyone's like, buy the dip. Why can't people buy the dip now that the dollar pulled back, right? And it makes a lot of sense. And really the most important piece of information I took for that is that, listen, nothing is like, we've seen some pretty sharp movements in the last 3 weeks. We've seen very sharp movements. This move was really big and sharp. And then this move was even sharper to the downside. And then this move up was even sharper. I mean, these have been some crazy volatile moves as we are in a crisis. But all of this stuff is not going to play out tomorrow, right? Gold is not going to be trading at $2,500 tomorrow. Bitcoin is not going to be trading at $110,000 tomorrow. And the DXY is not going to be trading at 120 tomorrow, right? So these moves take time to play out, and there's back and forth along the way. All right, I felt like that was really important to share, something that I definitely took away. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I agree. Right. And that's the thing. And Gabe was, Gabe, I hope you don't mind me sharing, but Gabe was just talking about the fact, since he's been working with me, since he's been active in the live streams, since he is a member of the Trading Academy, that his win ratio has gone up to 72%, that he couldn't feel happier, being in control, right? That's the idea for everyone. S&P is going here challenging the lows of the session, like that. Love that. Bitcoin is under a little bit of trouble. We're going to get into everything. I'm going to get into. So I don't know who's read the constructive feedback email that I sent out yesterday. It is Friday, first of all. So Friday, there's definitely a little bit of leeway. All right. So anyway, let me keep going. Bitcoin here. Look, it is holding above this support here at 6,469. I have it in. Okay. On a daily time frame, you could see that this is the low. Yesterday's low is kind of right above that support, right? If we take out that support here, and there's pressure on the markets itself, if we take out that low, yep, I think that we fall back, and then we could fall back to 56. I think that is a buying opportunity. I really do. Listen, I think if we take out the low over here at 3,800, that's a buying opportunity. Keep in mind that this was hold on, bear with me right here. This all took place from falling from 5,700 to 3,750 or whatever. That was, in 4 hours, this all took place. All right. We did come back down, test 44. Sunset put it back. Sunset Ventures put it best yesterday when he was basically like, Jordan, it's just an opportunity to buy. That's the only way that I look at Bitcoin until it's broken out here above this top of the triangle, which I firmly believe that it's going to do. And once it breaks out above here, it's really, it's going to really take off. The bull market is going to be happening within the next 6 months. We are going to see much higher Bitcoin prices. These are prices that you probably never thought you could buy Bitcoin in, because everyone loved Bitcoin up here. And that's the thing. Traders love to buy high, right? But, people wish that they bought lower, but it takes a little bit of gumption. You have to really believe in what you're investing in order to be able to step in and do it. And, one way or another, we're all going to get through this crisis. That's for sure. That's another thing I really want to talk about, but I will get into the charts first for y'all. But that's the all right. Glad to see that you guys did like it. That's good. I know that I'm veering off from that, running through the charts this morning, but it's Friday. All right. I will get into some charts for you though. But I do want to get into, this is really important. With all of you, I really want to get into when we think that this might peak. All right. Things are looking really bad, obviously, right now, especially in New York. And we always need to be forward thinking, and I do want to talk about the possibility of when this might peak and whether or not we're going to see any second waves or not. But we can talk about that later. All right. There was one. Hold on. Let me. US dollar, Canadian dollar, and then there was Yazbek. You wanted to look at the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. So let's start off there. The yen is the strongest currency this morning. The yen is the strongest. The pound is the weakest. Prime Minister Johnson has tested positive for the coronavirus, and I don't think that guy's in the greatest health though. So that could be bad. I mean, he looks overweight. From what I understand, people who are overweight don't do the best with the virus. Nevertheless, let's always hope for the best. So Australian dollar, Japanese yen. This was put out into the Telegram through a Trading View update last night. No, it wasn't. That was the Australian dollar, Swiss franc. Same difference, right? So this looks definitely to me, and today's Friday, risk off Friday. Why is it risk off Friday? Well, this is going on 8 weeks in a row where we've seen risk off come into the market because the weekend is a long weekend, right? I know that Trump is meeting with his advisors this weekend, talking about when they might reopen the country. I mean, that's kind of up to the states and cities anyway, but you'll always look to the risk. The risk is that he could be like, hey, listen, we're looking at the end of April, which would throw off, the market's timeline as well, which right now is looking a little bit before that. So Australian dollar, Japanese yen, you came back into this area of resistance. So it looked pretty strong to take. Now the yen, here's the area of resistance. Thomas, you could see exactly why that's there. It's not Thomas, Yazbek, because you see over here, there's a little bit of business holding up upon this support. And then when it broke, that was then resistance, right? And then I could see last night that was the high. So that's the area of resistance. Prices coming off it. Yen has been bid. Definitely you want to be short at this moment. Now I was focusing in on the Swiss franc over the Japanese yen. I was completely wrong on the near term. On the near term, what happened? The Japanese yen is outperforming everything in the last 24 hours. Now, the reason I went with the Swiss franc over the Japanese yen is I just feel that Japan is a little bit overextended. There's going to be an announcement out of tomorrow out of Japan. I don't know what it is, but Abe has set a press conference. I'm just worried that the yen could weaken throughout this crisis when all is said and done. So I went with the Swiss franc on it. It was the wrong trade. The right trade obviously would have been the Japanese yen. And if you're short here, as far as where you're looking for take profits, well, if it was me, I'm holding into over the weekend, just because there could be surprises. But if you're not looking to hold over the weekend, and if we do trade into this area during this session, well, I think that's the place that you want to look to possibly take your profits. Personally, as I am with the S&Ps here, holding short, I'm looking for a retest of the lows. Whether that's going to happen or not, I don't know. It's happened in 1929. In 1929, actually, we didn't get a retest of the lows. We went 35% down lower. In the crash of 87, we came back and tested the lows. In 2011, we came back and tested the lows. So I'm looking for a test of the lows. Could that happen in FX also if it happens on the equity markets? I believe so. Again, I'm a little bit more position minded right now. Let's get back into it though. Let's look at the US dollar, Canadian dollar, which the oil is down to 21 last I saw this morning. It's down at 21.67. A lot of pressure on oil that remains. I know that the US is trying to do what it can to step in and make a difference, pressuring Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia has said, well, Russia's got to be on board also. I it seems like Russia is obviously doing what it could do to defend itself and her interests. That's put pressure on the United States. Makes sense. But I would not, by any means, underestimate the power of the United States. So either which way, pressure this morning on oil. Let's look at the US dollar, Canadian dollar. Let's also look at, since it's just right here in front of my face, the Canadian dollar, Japanese yen. Also, you could see where my mouse is right now, off of this resistance, trading down into this area of supply. So if oil breaks below 20 this session today, everything's on the table. Everything is a possibility. Obviously, we would see some further pressure here. It's risk on. It depends where you're holding the trade from, right? That's why you buy off of the resistance in a downtrend. Here it is peeling back. Again, you can't go wrong if you're taking if you're just waiting and then taking the setups, buying off support in uptrends, selling off resistance in downtrends. You're going to be wrong. It wouldn't even matter if you're wrong 60% of the time. If you were just right 40% of the time, which you will be right more than that, and you're using good, favorable risk to rewards, everything taught in the academy, there's no question that you're going to come out ahead. It's as difficult it is, it's a lot simpler if you make it easier on yourself. When I say as difficult as it is, I mean as difficult as trading is. And trading is difficult. You have to be on top of your game. US dollar, Canadian dollar is rebounding here with the dollar bouncing. I had to stay away from this. I couldn't get involved only because it's just super volatile. Put it that way. It's just super volatile and it's not clear. And you could see in retrospect, armchair quarterback, meaning like after you watch the big game, everyone at home knows exactly what to do, right? And this is relevant now, so I'll leave it here. But you could see the tops of this area, which was resistance, now has become support on the way down. It seems light to me, which is why I would not even dream of stepping in there. But we're bouncing. I think this is more of a dollar story than an oil story right now. I think it's a US dollar story. US dollar is bouncing back a little bit this session. And I say a little bit because it's only a little bit, but it is doing it. Whoa, there you go. Thank you, Blair. I had no idea. Thank you. Interest rate cut by the Bank of Canada. Let me jump back to the dollar over here, first of all. So that's the little bit of resistance we're looking at. So far, the dollar is backing off of that right now. We're still so early in the session. We're about 25 minutes since U.S. equities have opened. They're trading down now towards the lows of the day. It would be quite ironic if the stimulus bill is passed and then faded. Quite ironic. We saw a lot of build up into it, but it's Friday and everything is volatile, meaning that these things could trade green at the end of the day, for all I know. Just zooming in here really quick. So there was something else that I want to share with all of you. I don't know if anyone listens to the Macro Voices podcast. I've listened to it for quite a while, and then I stopped listening to it for quite a while. And then I started listening to it again back in early February because the coverage of the outbreak was so good. And basically outside of peak prosperity, it was the best coverage that I could find. It's a hedge fund who's, they were right on top of everything. And so I got back into listening to them. And, I lost my train of thought. There was something that was shared, which was really important that I wanted to share with you. Oh, well. If it comes back to me, I'll let you know. What else do we want to look at? Let's take a look at the Australian dollar Swiss franc, up 0.2% on the session. Did it make a lower low here than London? No. Tide ticket. All right. If it breaks down over here and starts making lower lows, I think that this trade continues. I did a nice overview of this last night on TradingView and the New Zealand dollar Swiss franc, and nothing has changed. Both remain exactly as it is here on the New Zealand dollar, which the New Zealand dollar was the weakest, I believe, currency going into the session. That again, same exact trade setup, definitely is holding. I think we're in a holding pattern. Dollar giving up lots of its gains so far in the last half hour. Still positive on the day. Japanese yen remains strong. Euro remains weak. We're coming up and we're testing now the area of the broken resistance. Right? Coming back up. Here's the break. Coming back up and testing it. Obviously, if we get back up here, the dollar should probably continue to weaken. But if we're rejected here by the resistance, then that's a sign that we'll see further dollar strength. All right. So a little bit of pressure on Bitcoin remains firm. Gold was, oh, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Gold. So what on the, this was the macro voices podcast. And basically what he was saying was that, as everyone's noticed, I've talked about the huge premium on physical gold. And he was actually really, really upset about that. He is uber bullish on gold, has been, remains as such. Not, and when I say uber bullish, there's type of people who are like gold bugs, and then there are type of people who are like, because of the fundamentals warrant it, are really bullish on gold. But at the same time, have no problem, calling for lower gold prices when it looks appropriate and things like that. And he's all around long term. He's very bullish on gold. Certain points, definitely looking for sell-offs on gold. But he's saying that every time there is any type of crisis, and going back over the last 30, 40 years, anytime there's political unrest and or financial crisis, that always is the same old story. The dealers take away their inventory, they put up a premium on gold. And he basically was saying, and this is one man's opinion, but it's not actually real, that it happens every time. So it's a tricky situation when you see the FDIC putting out social media videos telling you not to worry, that your money's safe in the US banking system, which, for the very fact that they're doing that, leads me to believe it's not. But at the same time, are things going to settle in a few weeks? You see those premiums go down, and then is that the time, if you don't own the physical stuff, to get into it? Something to consider. You have to consider everything along the way. Dinkar, let's look at the pound Japanese yen. I heard, I believe, Narrow talking about that it was sideways. Look at this narrow range it's putting in. It is below resistance right here. And if price makes a lower low on the daily, I would then definitely be more biased towards it for that short-term momentum. But this is a small inside bar. And when I say small, look at the past trading days. Look how big the bars have been. We were talking 500 pip ranges. And then today you're dealing with a 100 pip range. So this is something that you don't want to be involved with yet, but you do want to look for the spring is coiling down, and you want to look for a breakout to the upside or downside. This is actually kind of lovely. This is kind of lovely right now. This is really nice because whether we break up or down, there looks like, you know, you could come in big on this trade because your downside is so limited. You could play it like a simple breakout. I mean, the difficult part of the trade is it's Friday. It's Friday morning. I don't like to really pick up trades on a Friday, but if you look at, so yeah, and definitely this is probably, it could go either way. I don't want to hold this one over the weekend either. Really, it's tough. I guess that's why it's such a narrow range. People don't want to step in here. So if you do see, I don't know which time frame you'd want to look at, whether it's the 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hour. Here on the 4 hour, if you get a break of this last 4 hour bar, right, and then you play it either way, that might be the trade to take and the way to play it. But you're at a beautiful area. You're up hugging the resistance while making inside bars, literally limiting your risk. So there's a lot of opportunity here. You could see that most of all, it's just coiling down. The move on here, one way or the other, is going to be pretty big, I think. US dollar versus the euro. I assumed versus the yen also. Yeah, US dollars, DXY is going negative here now after turning positive after being negative all overnight. So let me back up. You can see that I have resistance on another one, support here. That's resistance. You can see that so far is where she's pulled back to. Now, as long as she stays above this green line over here, this yellow line that held as support, it definitely have to have a bullish bias, even though it's turning negative right here, right now. If she starts making lower lows than she did during Asia over here, at that point, right, we're going to be falling back down. We could probably get rid of all of this noise over here right now. There we go. Let's take a look at the pound US dollar. Up on the session and holding its gains. So interesting, because going back, we were just looking at the pound Japanese yen. I thought I read a headline that the pound was weak because of Johnson testing positive for the coronavirus, but I'm looking at a strong pound right here, up handedly against the dollar, stronger than the euro, and the yen, which is strong, is only making small gains against it. All right. So watch a breakout to the upside on that pound Japanese yen trade we were playing. Here you're into resistance right now. So let's draw it in at this new resistance that's forming. So this looks very similar to what you're looking at the Japanese yen, that it's pulled back into an area of resistance and is really trading small. Both of these are offering opportunity. Which way they're ultimately going to break, I can't tell you. You can only follow the price out of it, including here on the, I mean, this trade looks better to me than on the pound US dollar, personally. But again, you have the 4 hour bar to play off of on each side, but it is Friday. If we break out to the upside over here, there's definitely, a couple to a few hundred pips to the upside before we run into something that could possibly slow it down. So if you break up, start making new highs over here, then that trade could follow to the upside for a couple hundred pips. Nothing straight up, nothing straight down, nothing's easy. There's trading. I want to keep watching this. It is Friday. It is risk off Friday. You can see the top of this blue box, which is right now support. Price so far holding off that support. You can see it goes all the way back. I don't need to draw it. It goes all the way back to these touches and to these touches. That's the area right now that if we get below, there's going to be further momentum down. But it looks like right now or so far that, well, it's holding. And here we are. Yeah, Dinkar. It's Friday. But we could see in the next couple hours, I'm sure that we could see some pretty big moves. This is off, I guess, off the back of also the yen strength coupled with the rate cut out of Canada, pressure on the Canadian dollar. Even the US dollar is stronger than the Canadian dollar this session. Probably the pound Canadian dollar is really having a big day. This is that important area too. Look at this. That's exciting. That pullback was deep on the pound Canadian dollar. I haven't looked at this in a while, but you could see came down into the support now, but we broke over here, this resistance, and we're coming and looking at breaking above this area as well, right? So the pound across the board is at some pretty critical areas. Across the board, I see it at resistance on everything. So it could go either way. Yeah, look at it. Jesse, I think that, so yeah, that would actually be like someone who has probably tested positive for the virus, right? I believe they get an extra $600 a month. US dollar, Japanese yen breaking down here, breaking down through an important level. The lows of Asia are being taken out right now. Dollar has turned around and is fading weaker again. You know, the charts don't lie. This is definitely now very biased towards the Japanese yen. I'm personally not trading it. I'm trading the yen to the downside versus other pairs. I understand the weight on the dollar because of the stimulus being passed. I just ultimately do believe it's going to be faded and look at it as buying opportunities. So as you're seeing the yen strengthen, I prefer them versus other pairs, but right here, right now, against the US dollar, it is breaking down and taking out at an important level. The next area, I'd say around 107.10, if she keeps sliding, is the next place to look for a stand. So New York is turning around after the pre-New York dollar was strengthening, are turning around and now selling her. Watching that pound Japanese yen. And the euro is also, I think, making some big gains versus the dollar right now at the same time. Riyadh, what's going on? Good to see you. That's beautiful, John. That's beautiful. That's the way it should be. Trying to pull up the euro US dollar over here, take a look with you. And she's back above that area. That broken resistance is now that breakdown below that support didn't turn to resistance, and now she's breaking back up. So I have to be honest, I would not be surprised to see her trade back up towards the 1.1054 level at all. But the markets remain volatile and on the move. Yeah, if you're infected, huh? And not that many people have been infected so far in the greatest scheme of things. I mean, talking about the U.S. alone, I think they're up to 81,000 cases, more or less. All right, Riyadh, anything you're looking at? Anything you want to take a look at? Board is now open. I think we all have a handle of what's going on. Excuse me 1 second. All right. Yeah, we're on day. So we're on day. Well, Sunday will be 14 days in self quarantine, but each day that passes, of course, got to feel better and safer. All right, let's go in order. Well, actually, pound Japanese yen is in a really interesting area. First, the most important thing about it is that it is really narrowing down into a range. Normally, when you see like a spring being pushed back, coiling, when it releases, all that energy really lets go. That's the same thing that happens in the market. And you could see that we're having some big ranges. Look at the size of these bars. And then you could see the coiling, and then boom, coil, boom. We're coiling again. We're coiling at this resistance level. Whichever way it breaks, up or down, do expect some follow through from this level. So the pound is actually at a really nice position to be stalking it. It's a really nice position to be stalking. It's impossible to say which way it breaks, up or down. You're looking at two strong currencies right now. Right now, the yen is the strongest. Pound is also very strong, and you're seeing them battle out. It's going to break one way or the other, and that leads to a good trade. At the same time, we want to look at Bitcoin. Now, there is on the trading view. Hold on. There's a nice look at it on the trading view. I'll post the link for you. But which is like a 4-minute video, which is a long update for trading view for me. But basically, as we're holding this line over here, this green line at 6,469, that is bullish. Now, obviously, you're seeing the market sold down over 3.5% this morning. That's putting pressure on just about everything. You see gold also down today, Bitcoin down. Now, as long as you hold this level over here, that's quite bullish. And what I'm looking at is this. Let me show you. Let me show you on a daily chart. And at the same time, if you just scroll down, you'll see right there, this one, Bitcoin Outlook. I'll just put this link. Matt, have a great weekend. As soon as London closes, as New York goes to lunch, is the best time to get out of the market. Not just on a Friday, every day for day traders. Take a look at that. The link I just posted for a good Bitcoin outlook. But holding above here, this area of support, we're back above now. That's very bullish for Bitcoin. If we lose it, we're coming back down over to here. I think it's a buying opportunity, and I think anything right now is a buying opportunity. If we get back into this trend line over here, get back above this trend line over here, and we're back into this triangle where we ultimately break out to the upside as we begin the next bull phase of the market. This is really bullish to get back inside the triangle, and then we should see some further consolidation up in that range for a while, for a couple of months, I would think. But right now, I think that looking back, no matter, even if Bitcoin takes out the low over here, and you go ahead and you have funds prepared to step in and buy. I think looking back, that's something that everyone's going to wish they did, as well as right here. Bitcoin at 6,600, that's undervalued. Stock to flow model has Bitcoin, I think, fair value, I don't know if it's 8,500 or 9,200. And so here we are. Yeah, there's the possibility that the pound breaks up or down. It's at resistance across everything. I sell resistance after it breaks to the upside. I get a retest, then I buy it, but I sell resistance. And if we just take a look around on the pound, you can see, let's look at the pound US dollar. Let me draw it in for you. Right at resistance. Pound Canadian dollar. Just like the pound Japanese yen. Also at this area of resistance. So they're all at resistance. And yes, it could definitely break up. There's a lot of momentum coming into that resistance. If she does break up, then that's when you want to look to get long, right? Look for a retest, get down, get long. Quick check. I'm not sure what's going on in the House with the vote. From what I understand, that could be take a few hours. Obviously, we're looking to see what the market's reaction is once that vote has taken place, and if it's passed, both on equities and on the U.S. dollar. Dollar right now is unchanged. It's fought back from being down during Asia through London up. Pre-New York, it was trading at its highs, and then since has back to unchanged. The U.S. dollar, Japanese yen, yen is really strong. This is why you wait for confirmation. It looks like we're coming down here, and it does look like the yen here is ready to break down. But that's why we use the daily to know if we broke support or resistance. And then over here, the euro also, I mean, the dollar's unchanged, right? But both the yen is way stronger than the dollar, and the dollar is a little bit stronger than the euro. Canadian dollar remains weak. Oil is down. Bank of Canada with a 0.25% rate cut. And the market's looked right now to have settled in. Let's see if that continues over the next 10 minutes or not. They're still talking, not even a vote yet, huh? Anyone who's followed what's gone on this past week, in both the Senate and the House, could see that our system is a complete and utter joke. Do appreciate the love, the thumbs down, the dislike. Hey, it is a somewhat free society, and you do get to cast your vote. Thanks for sharing the love. I don't know, everyone. They yesterday in the replay, the chat was not showing. The day that we played the music in here earlier in the week, Google went ahead and gave like I don't know if it wasn't like a channel strike, but like a copyright infringement. I don't know if it's because of that. Maybe it takes 30 days or something to come back on, or if it'll be on today. Martin, thumbs for you too, brother. Thumbs up for you too. I feel like things are a little quiet right now, but I think that they're gonna actually and when I say quiet, you could see that the indices are down 3.5% and 4%. Right? Can you imagine that happened just 3 weeks ago? People would be like, but you see the pound strong, you see the Canadian dollar weak, relatively the yen strong, but I feel like everything right now in this moment is kind of like nothing is trending else. Everything is just kind of like, and I don't think it's going to stay that way. All right, Martin, have a beautiful weekend. Stay safe. Be safe. All right. I feel like nothing's clear. Just a lot of battles going on right now. Like I suppose the reason that the market feels like it's in a little bit of a holding pattern right now is because they're waiting for the vote. I don't think it's so clear to say how anything will react, whether it's the U.S. dollar and or equities off the result of that vote. I do assume that the market's already pricing in the fact, I don't want to say fact, I want to say that the market's already pricing in the idea that that vote's going to be passed, right? It seems to me that it's a sure thing, or almost a sure thing, and therefore the markets have already priced in the fact that it's being passed. That's pretty appropriate and true. They're going to go crazy one way or the other. I have no idea which way they could go. I think that most people would expect that they go up, but they could also sell off hard as well. I do want to check some headlines because that's exactly what I would be doing at this point right now myself. And I like Forex Live. Obviously, I feel it's one of the best news feeds there is. So interesting. The pound is strong today with Johnson testing positive and cases rising pretty rapidly over there. Nothing really of interest at all. So has anyone heard about uh who is that guy? Bill Ackerman. Bill Ackman. Bill Ackerman. He's famous for there's a documentary on Netflix where he's taking the other side of what he calls a Ponzi scheme about some I forgot the name of the company. It doesn't even matter. But he bet $28 million on derivatives that the market was going to go down at the beginning of March. And he made somewhere in the neighborhood of I believe it's $2.5 billion off it, 100x on that trade. Pretty insane. Pretty insane. It's impossible to know whether the dollar is going to weaken or strengthen on the news of the bill passing. I have absolutely zero edge or any idea of knowing both with U.S. equities and with the U.S. dollar what its reaction is going to be. The possibility remains that what you were seeing with the U.S. dollar this week was, buy the rumor, right? I'm sorry. This was the retrace. Buy the rumor, sell the news. That could happen. Or after the bill passes, if we break this level here on the U.S. dollar, right, then I see further weakness for sure. Same thing with the U.S. equity markets. People were expecting that you were going to see the bottom was in yesterday. The bear market was declared over. But I don't know how they're going to react. It could be buy the rumor, sell the news. There's no way to know. I cannot tell you one way or the other. U.S. dollar, Mexican peso has been really just so tightly correlated to the S&P. It's almost exactly mirroring it. Let me show you. So with the S&P down today, the U.S. dollar is up versus the Mexican peso. You can see it's almost an exact mirror of the S&P. So possibly a way to play that is when you think the bottom is in, it's a good carry trade to the downside. They just cut rates this week also, but it's still pays a good swap. But you don't want to be in a trade. You want to trade it technically, right? Because you'll get destroyed in pips over the swamp in any pair any day. And if the market sells off, if the market sells off, if the S&P does test the lows or take them out, then I think we'll see much new highs on the US dollar Mexican peso. And if the bottom's in, then there's a good chance that then we've seen the high. I don't think the bottom's in. I think we retested at least, personally. So I think more than a US dollar story, the correlation between the S&P and the US dollar Mexican peso is the thing to watch. Now, at the same time, you also have seen from the peak of the dollar strength over here. And then when the dollar has sold off the last couple of days, there's also a dollar correlation there also at the same time. So not going to deny that. Right now, it is into this area of resistance. It's into this area of resistance, and if it's rejected here, starts making lower lows, then that's an easy play. At the same time, if you get back above, then let's see how far it gets up towards testing the highs. It has a lot of work to do after pulling back this steep. Herbalife, you got wrecked. Herbalife, there it is, right? I mean, can you imagine making 100x? I don't know how much his fund is that he's trading, but either way, I think he did a good job in covering any other losses he may have been experiencing with that one trade. And any way you look at it, man, any way you look at it is a really smart trade. Not only smart, worked out perfect. So as a trader, I got to applaud that. I see the US dollar at the end towards the lows of the session, coming back towards the lows. And then I see the euro, US dollar gaining a little momentum. So everything's mixed across the board. Yen strength. Risk off Friday. So this is really important. If anyone's not following Danielle DiMartino Booth, I definitely recommend it. Former Fed governor or chair, not of the New York Fed, but she's got that inside flow and knows how they think. She was, and a lot of people have been pretty clear that it wasn't the coronavirus that has derailed the everything bubble, that things were already set up, and it was just the pin that popped it, right? Just talking about trade before the coronavirus hit being well off, right? So now it's really obviously off. And then you have the Treasury Secretary Mnuchin talking about the fact that we're going to see, what do you say, 5%? He said we're gonna. I don't know when he said it. We're gonna see a 5% GDP print this year. With the live stream, the Twitter fit is not really what I want to look through with you. Yeah, I'm surprised we can't get a clear timeline of when the vote would take place. It's amazing, but it is what it is. S&Ps are now trading down towards the lows of the day. I do want to check in only because if it's coming and taking out, not the lows. 2505, call it. I think if we take out that this support over here, then there could be further pressure on the indexes. What else? Is anyone else actually looking at something that they're interested in? It's a squirrely time of day to be looking into the trade. There's about 30 minutes left of probably some good trading until the vote passes. I think things are going to get volatile after that. If anyone is looking for where this was a trade that we looked at yesterday in the live stream, talking about how this was an attractive area to short. I don't like when I miss things like that. I like looking at it when I miss it, because that's not something that we should, that when we say this is a really attractive area to short, then I shouldn't have been so tied up in other things. But at the same time, the S&P this week has proved lucrative. Ready, NR. Which link are you looking for? For Danielle? Hanero, good morning. What's going on? How have you been? Hope you had a good week. Japanese yen is just beast mode versus the dollar. Beautiful, beautiful, Hanera. I have no idea after the vote is passed what the market's reaction will be. I agree with you. When I saw headlines yesterday saying that the bull market's over, because we were up 20% off the lows, I actually almost top ticked this. I'm short since 26.38. I'm hoping that I'm going to see a retest of the lows, or if not new lows. This was the S&Ps last night off this trend line over here. I have a feeling though that this could spike on the news of the bailout being passed, and if that does, then I'm probably just going to take profit where I have this alert in at 25.62. It's only 1% up. I don't have a stop in there. I'm not sure, but I would love for that bill to be passed and to see the market sell off on that. or I'd love for some reason for the bill not to be passed or the vote to be held up, and they actually spend the time to actually work this out to benefit the American people. This is not a good situation. I mean, what a great point, John, because that's so true. This is a bailout. It's not a stimulus package at all. There's nothing in it that's going to actually stimulate the economy. And the double speak that we hear all the time from government is absolutely horrendous. It's a bailout under the guise of stimulus. And what I thought was going to happen was, and it will happen soon enough. It looked like they were going to be part of the bill originally was having digital wallets for everybody, and they were going to be basically it was going to be universal basic income, and that's where we're headed. That's exactly where we're headed. Is ultimately they're going to be, ultimately it'll just be money handed out to people, and well, that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother story. I don't really think that benefits humanity whatsoever. Hey, Aaron, I appreciate that very, very much. Um, Gabriel, I don't recommend trading the S&P at all. I've been trading the S&P a lot this past. I don't know if it's a week or 8 or 9 days or whatever. Only because it's just been it's been that type of, well, look at the moves on the S&P, right? And I thought I was done after yesterday. I think 125 pips points to the downside, which on the S&P is enormous. And then when around the time of the stimulus bill looking to be passed, I took, I think, a couple of small losses, and ultimately got in at two trades, 21.82 and 22.20, and took profit on those trades. They were like 300 and 400 point trades, which is just insane on the S&Ps. And now I'm short here since 26.38 and holding that. And that'll probably be my last trade. No, I won't. If we listen, here's the if this trade turns out to be a back-to-back home run, and depending on whether or not we come in, looks like we're placing a bottom over here, then the possibility remains I might take a long to hold it. If we break down to new lows over here, then I think that I don't know. I don't recommend it. Do not recommend it. Yeah, I think it's all fraud, Jesse. When I say I don't recommend it, Jesse, I mean you're trading very well, Gabe. You're trading very well, very well. Stick with what works. This is extenuating circumstances. There's a reason I'm here. I don't recommend it for you at all because you could get hurt really easily, and it's S&P is really difficult to trade. That's that's um that's true. You got wrecked. Blair let me know that on the Pop podcast is Brent Johnson. So I'll be checking that out because I like to hear what he has to say. I like to hear all sorts of opinions. And part of his dollar milkshake theory is what you're saying. Also, you got wrecked. That eventually, U.S. dollar flows are going to go into the stock market. Oh, I think you're talking about the stimulus. I think you're talking about the stimulus. What he's talking about is dollar strength is going to cause U.S. dollar flows from foreigners to go into the U.S. stock market. So it's tough. Does the U.S. stock market go on to make all-time highs, or does it trade off? From the high 50 or 80% in a deflationary type environment? That's a tough one. It could go. I think it could go either way. Okay, so that's also that. I mean, that's spot on. Then that's that's what Brent Johnson is also saying. You're in good company. Uncharted waters. Ooh, that seems like a really good name for a podcast. Yeah, and they're giving them crumbs of crumbs. Ultimately, what it is now, from what I understand, that the $1,200 is just a tax credit. They're not even giving people $1,200, and $1,200 to put you $12,000 in debt doesn't seem like a good deal to begin with. Not that you have a choice in it. It's not that they give you, hey, do you want this $1,200? To be in debt 12,000. You have no choice but to take it. But they're not even giving you $1,200. They're giving you a tax credit. I don't know if anyone saw this morning, but this was all the spring breakers that were meeting in Florida. They by tracking their cell phones. Guys, yeah, the future is not looking so free at all. By tracking their cell phones, they're able to take a look at where all the spring breakers went around the world. So, I guess that's why China closed its borders. Yeah, they're rushing through because they know it's the same thing as the Patriot Act. Um, I think that they're updating the Patriot Act and they're calling it the Freedom Act, taking away much more of our freedoms than ever before. Yen really breaking down here versus the US dollar at its lows of the session. You guys are all familiar with this type of price action. Let me show you. When you're in this downtrend and then you see like 2 up bars and then a boom. That's a pattern that you could see play out over and over and over again. Here it is to the upside. Boom. Two bar pullback. Boom. Fresh bout of dollar weakness also coming into play on the euro. Yeah, it's a battle. It's a battle for Nero, and it's a battle that we've seen many wake up to in the past decade. But unfortunately, because of as Jeff from Dollar Vigilante puts it, the constant programming on the TVs and in the media, that most of the people don't stand the chance. It's amazing, Jesse. You're the best source for any type of updates going on with the vote. I guess the whole idea is to keep the people not informed. Things are slowing down right now, though. I think that will change later today with the vote as a catalyst. I don't know at all what the market reaction will be. If I could break down this support over here, I would feel really good about holding this trade. Got a nice cushion, but at the same time, this is the hard part about trading. Some decent profits in there. Do you take them or do you push it? Yeah, Gabe, I think this is the best time for us all right here. I wish you all, I thank you all. How much do I appreciate sharing this time with you? Looking forward to another week, starting it off on Monday. I'll put out absolutely our plan for the week ahead over the weekend. Same time as always. I wish you all have a great weekend. Everyone stay positive. Everyone help those around them stay positive. We're definitely gonna get through this no matter what. All right, everyone. I'll talk to you later.